Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former WBA Bantamweight World Champion. It is, of course, Nina Hughes. Nina, welcome back on the show.
Thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure having you, Nina. So we last spoke back in March, almost a year ago. At the time, you were getting ready to fight Shanika Johnson. Let's obviously start with that. Looking back now, just talk me through the actual fight itself, just the fight part. How do you assess it looking back now?
Assessing it, I've watched it back several times. It was a close competitive fight, but I still believe I won the fight, and in there I believed I was winning. I scored it back 7-3, 6-4, maybe closest to myself. I just thought I was the busier, landed more punches, and that my arm should have been raised where it was, but
it was changed. We'll get to that. When we actually spoke in that interview, I actually mentioned to you if you were concerned about the judging. You kind of said, you're always a bit concerned about the judging, but what can you do? I can only do my job. That 98-92 card, unbelievably terrible, wasn't it?
Yeah, and you know what? Even the close cards, if you look at the way they scored it, it was just blatant cheating, because the first two rounds I won clearly, like they wasn't even close. Like if you give the close rounds to her, then I understand it more. But the first two rounds I won so clearly that those two judges still give it to her, and then it's like they start giving me rounds later on once they know she's winning to try and even it out to make the scores closer. Do you know what I mean?
Oh God. Yeah, because that's what I mean. Those early rounds on a scorecard, they're so important because obviously
it was impossible that I lost the first two rounds. So, but yeah, it is what it is.
But obviously, the judges, as you say, you feel it was blatant cheating from the judges. They certainly got it wrong. But the MC, as we know, had an absolute mare. What a crazy way to mess things up. Obviously, for those that don't know, I'm sure that people listening do know, but he announces you as the winner, you celebrate, then he goes, oh, hang on, wait a minute, and the new. How did it feel? Well, I know I could kind of see the expression on your face at the time, but how did it feel to be celebrating, defending your title successfully away from home all that way in Australia, and then have it taken away from you in seconds?
Yeah, obviously it was heartbreaking, and it was just such a shock. No one explained to us what had happened. No one said to us, "Oh, the ring announcer announced it wrong." Like they just changed it while we was in the ring. So when you don't even know what's going on, and then as soon as they started announcing the scores again, I just thought there's only one reason they can do it, is changing it. I had no idea why they was doing it, but yeah, I just knew that they was changing the decision for some weird reason. And then they come back to me and he tried to interview me, and I'm like, I had no idea what had even just happened. I was lost for words.
It was horrible to watch, even on the TV. I think obviously at the time things were heated, emotions were high. Do you still think it was corruption or just a horrible mistake, Nina?
I don't know. Yeah, there's so many little things that like you read into and you look into, and I don't know. Maybe. I think the judges were corrupt, because whether he announced it right or wrong, that doesn't justify how the judges scored it. Yeah. So in that way, that's corrupt. I said in some ways, like whether he announced it right or wrong doesn't change how the judges score it. So because he apologised to me afterwards in the bar, and I was like, it doesn't actually make any difference if you announced it right or wrong. If you announced it right first time, then they've still cheated me of what I don't believe was right, the way the judges scored it. So it's one of them.
Oh man, it's so true what you're saying though. Obviously, it doesn't matter so much that he got it wrong. The cards were what they were, but just that feeling of complete happiness to complete devastation in such a short space of time was horrible. The rematch. Firstly, I wouldn't mind betting that there was probably a time where you thought we're probably not going to get this rematch.
Yeah, well, I knew because we appealed to the WBA. About the controversial scoring, and the WBA got neutral judges from all around the world to rejudge my fight, and the majority had me winning. So they then made me mandatory for the fight. But originally, the deal was whoever won that fight had to fight the mandatory, which was Jamie Mitchell at the time, and then I got the winner. But then that fight never happened for whatever reason. So now I'm mandatory. But yeah, they've recognised the bad result and made me mandatory, so I'm faithful to the WBA.
Even still, though, did the thought cross your mind that maybe Shanika might just say, no, I don't really fancy it anyway?
Well, she couldn't. She'd have to give up the belt, otherwise there's no way she could get out of it. But the business side of it, it did drag on for so long. Obviously, it's the cost and paying for it and finding a show to put it on. So that side of it has dragged on longer than obviously we wanted. But it's finally, even though I've got to go back to Australia, we've finally got the rematch.
Yeah, I was going to say as well, obviously, how does it feel to finally get it signed and announced?
Yeah, it's a relief in the end because it's just been such a long time waiting. Yeah, I've been in the gym basically, a little rest after her, but basically since the last fight, with like potential dates maybe happening that haven't quite materialised. So finally, it's crossed the line.
And yeah, like we say, it's finally happening, March 22nd, back in Australia. I have to ask again, do you have, I'm sure you've got concerns about going back there now.
Of course, but it is what it is. What can I do? I've demanded neutral judges this time. So I just have to hope that the judges are fair. That's all I can ask for.
And Nina, should you get your revenge, are we likely to see a third fight?
No, I doubt it because I believe I won the first one anyway. Yeah, no. And I was always giving her the opportunity. She was never my mandatory. She was never... Yeah. So no, it wouldn't ever make sense. Not unless the money's there. Money talks.
Yeah, of course. I'm saying it's still a bit of history to the fight. Do you feel that you need to do anything different in this second fight, Nina? If so, what? Or if not, why?
I'm just going to make it as clear as possible so that, I've just got to go in there and do what I did last time, but even better.
And is there any concerns, obviously, with it's not been an ideal layoff for you? I know that you look about 21, but, fact of the matter is you're not. Is there any concerns with that?
No, obviously it's not ideal. I wanted to be as active as possible, but if anything, I'm feeling better in the gym. I'm still improving. I feel like I'm feeling fitter. I'm feeling stronger. So I'm feeling a lot more even confident. I'm still improving. That's the main thing. So I expect a good performance.
And then my last real question for you, Nina, should you get this win, I know we touched on it just briefly and I said about a possible third fight, but what would be on your mind next, or is it too early to tell just yet?
I mean, look, my full focus is in this fight because without this win, anything else isn't there. But since I won that world title, I achieved my goal, and the next step, I always wanted the unification fights. They've never been able to be made, but yeah, that was always a dream, is to unify. So that would always be the next dream if it could happen.
Hopefully it's a big year for you, this one. Just before we wrap things up, Nina, if you've got any closing words to the listeners, like I say, I think it's the third time that we've had you on. It's always great having you on. And it's been 11 months because of the inactivity, sadly. Otherwise, we would have had you on sooner.
I just thank everyone for their support and bring back 2-time world champion.
There we go. Listen, Nina, I want to thank you for your time. Best of luck March 22nd, and hopefully, as you say, next time we speak, I'll be talking to a 2-time WBA bantamweight champion of the world.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.